This video is brought to you by cdkoffers.com, and today I have some very exciting news to share. I've been using cdkoffers.com whenever I need to get Windows 10 for an upcoming PC build, as Windows 10 costs a lot of money and I want to spend more of my money on the hardware and not the software. So the exciting news is for all of you social hardware family that are out there, you get the coupon code HARD20, which has been given to me to use on your cart, and you'll get 20% off your total order. So to download Windows 10, obviously just head over to the Microsoft website, download the file onto your USB, install that onto your computer, and then once you're at the activation section on Windows on your machine, head to cdkoffers.com, buy Windows 10 Pro, put it in your cart, use the code HARD20 so you get 20% off. Use that key to activate Windows so you have a fully legit copy of Windows 10 on your personal PC. So it really is that easy to get cheap software and games. So be sure to head over to cdkoffers.com and check out everything that they have to offer before paying full price. G'day guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about different kinds of SSDs, what type of technologies there are, what ones you should be considering, so that way you can make a more informed choice for your next PC upgrade. So in my hand we've got every kind of SSD that Silicon Power makes. Massive shout out to Silicon Power for offering to send these over to me for testing and for review. But also on a more exciting note, massive shout out to Silicon Power because we're going to be doing a giveaway on one of these drives, the 1TB P34A80. This is a global giveaway, and all you need to do is watch until the end for a special code that you need to enter into the comment section so you go into the draw to win one of these drives. So if you like this video and you found it helpful, hit the like button, get subscribed. If you have any comments or questions, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's begin. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. Today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different SSDs. We're going to talk about the technology and also doing some testing. That testing includes some real world scenarios. We're going to be talking about the boot up time in Windows 10, how long it takes to launch specific games, like really big games. Call of Duty Warzone is one that comes to mind. I know a lot of you guys are playing that game right now. What is the best for just full-on file transfer? What is the fastest? What's going to give you the maximum speed? What kind of temperatures you're going to get on some of these drives? And then lastly, probably most important is, I guess, the value for money. The price for a gigabyte. What is the dollar to gigabyte ratio, and which one is going to work out to be the best investment or the best drive for you for long-term use? Now for my testing system, we've got my own personal rig, which is an AMD 5900X based system. So that's 12 cores and 24 threads on an X570 motherboard from ASUS. It's the X570-P motherboard. You've got G.Skill 32 gigabytes, DDR4 3600 megahertz memory, and a Strix 2070 Super GPU. Can't get a 30 series because of those stock shortages. But with all of that hardware combined, we shouldn't see any bottlenecks anywhere. Now for the, I guess, testing methodology, what I've actually done is populated one of the SSDs with Windows 10, done all the latest drivers, updates, put all of the games and everything else that I want to test, and then clone that drive onto the other remaining drives. So that way we've got the same test with the same version of Windows and drivers and everything across all of those SSDs, so we're getting the same consistent test and result every time. So let's now jump into those benchmarks, and I can share with you my results, and you can let me know in the comment section what you guys think. So let's go through the 5 different drives that I've got from Silicon Power that we've tested, so I can share with you the results and give you my opinion on which drive is the best value for money in 2021. So starting off, we've got the Silicon Power Ace A55 1TB. This is a 2.5-inch form factor. It's a SATA based controller, SATA 3. It's an SLC based NAND flash, and there's no DRAM on this one at all. This is $133 right now in Australia. It's rated for 500 terabytes of writes to the drive, and it's roughly 13 cents per gigabyte. So that's actually really, really good value, and it's actually the cheapest 1TB drive that we have here. Obviously, being SLC with no DRAM means that you might be finding that it's a little bit slower on the writes, but it's still going to be a lot faster than a typical hard drive. Now, the next value option that we have for M.2 NVMe drives is a P34A60. This is a 1TB drive, PCIe Gen 3. TLC. So TLC, by the way, you've got SLC, TLC, and QLC. So single bit per cell, triple bits per cell, or quadruple bits per cell. The more bits you have per cell, the more data you can pack in, and the drives can be faster or slower. But typically SLC is the slowest, TLC is the fastest, and QLC is slower than TLC, but QLC can fit more data onto the drive. So I just wanted to share that part as well. So this is a TLC drive. There's no DRAM. It's $139. It's rated for 600 terabytes of data written to it, and it's 14 cents per gigabyte. So that only makes it slightly more expensive than the SATA based drive. So if you do have an M.2 slot and you're looking for just the cheapest 1 terabyte NVMe drive for your computer, this is the option to go for. Okay, so stepping up the ladder a little bit, we've got the P34A80. This is again another 1 terabyte drive, M.2 NVMe PCIe Gen 3. It's a TLC drive, so that's 3 bits per cell. We've got two 512 megabyte modules for DRAM, a little bit more expensive at $170 here in Australia. It is rated though for over 1600 terabytes of data written to it over its lifetime, 17 cents per gigabyte. So a little bit more expensive, but you'll see why once we get to the results. You're going to get much faster reads and writes on this drive, but the actual amount of data that you can write to this drive over its lifetime as well makes it a really good option for those long-term drives that you're going to be using every day and using a lot. Okay, so the next drive is a much higher capacity drive. This is the Silicon Power UD70 2 terabyte drive. It's a NVMe drive, it's PCIe Gen 3. It's a QLC drive, so it's 4 bits per cell. You've got one 4 gigabyte DRAM module on there, and it is $525 here in Australia right now. So it's obviously a lot more expensive, but that's because you're getting so much more data on a single SSD. Over its life, you can write up to 530 terabytes of data, and it's going for roughly 26 cents per gigabyte. So not a great value option, but if you're wanting to get as much data as you can on one M.2 drive, then this is a really, really good option. Now, the last drive that we've tested is the SP-US70 1 terabyte SSD. This is an NVMe drive, PCIe Gen 4 though, so we've gone from X3 to X4. TLC memory, two 8 gigabyte DRAM modules, currently goes for $259 here in Australia. You can write 3,600 terabytes of data to this drive, so it's really good for long-term use. 26 cents per gigabyte. So if you want that amazing read and write speed, that really awesome long-term use, this is a great drive to consider. However, you do need to just make sure that your motherboard supports that PCIe Gen 4, otherwise you're going to be leaving a bit of that performance on the bench. Maybe when you get an X570 motherboard on an AMD system, this would be a good drive to check out, and is actually what I've been using as my daily driver for quite some time now. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the fact that you can get so much data on such a small little SSD and that it can weigh as little as 8 grams is seriously impressive, and there is some serious engineering in there. So I don't know, for me anyway, that's just a cool little tech thing. I don't know, 8 grams for an SSD, it's pretty crazy. Now, boot up times. Booting up my computer with all of these different drives to get to the desktop screen, 16, 17 seconds between all of these drives. So you're not going to see any difference in terms of booting up to the desktop by buying the most expensive or getting the cheapest option. If you just want to get a really, really fast computer to boot to the desktop and that's all, then any of these drives will be perfectly fine. So just maybe buy the cheapest one and then you can go from there. Now, launching a big game like Call of Duty Warzone, which is a 200 gigabyte game, pretty much all of these drives performed again on par with each other, except for one drive. The P34A80 was the slowest at 53 seconds. The M.2 A60 and the SATA A55, which don't even have a DRAM, both booted up quicker at 51 seconds. UD70, US70, the really high-end drives, 51 seconds, 52 seconds. So all of these results, by the way, will be in the description. There'll be a little link. You can actually download this spreadsheet if you want to see it. If you want me to go slower, just press pause on the parts that you're interested in and you can digest this information in your own time. Now getting into the read and write speeds. So using Crystal Disk, we did a max read of a 4 gig file and the max write speed of a 4 gig file on all of these drives. So the SATA drive, you've got it reading at a max speed of 435 megabytes, writes of 456. The A60 was 2087 and 285 on the write. So you can really see on those write speeds that it's really, really slows down quite a bit. So to get 2 gig read speeds and then 285 meg write speeds really shows you that, you know, I think if you're going to fill this drive up and use it to be writing a lot of data to the drive all the time, the A60 is probably a drive to stay away from if that's going to be something that you're going to be doing, you know, over the course of its life. Now, moving to the A80. The A80, 3 gig write speeds, 3 gig read speeds, pretty impressive. The 2 terabyte drive, 3 gig reads, 3 gig writes. So pretty much the performance there is on par with the A80 and the UD70, very, very similar performance. The PCIe Gen 4 drive though, 5 gigabyte read speeds, 4.2 gigabyte write speeds. So if you're someone that needs the fastest drive to copy big files back and forward, maybe you've got big movie files, big video files, this is definitely the drive that you should be getting if you want to cut down some of that productivity time. And I mean, you just have to bear in mind that you do have to have the right motherboard to support the PCIe Gen 4 slot for this SSD. Now, the next thing that we did was the file copy transfers in a real world scenario inside of Windows. So we got an 8 gig file, a 16 gigabyte file, and a 32 gigabyte file, and just duplicated it literally in the same folder, bearing in mind that all of these drives are pretty much 90% full. So this is your worst case scenario for the file transfer test. The slowest drive was the SATA drive, not surprisingly, just because of that SATA controller, it's kind of handicapped a little bit. So an 8 gig file was 37 seconds, then for a 16 gig was 140 seconds, then for a 32 gig was 428 seconds. So if you're doing small little transfers of data, you know, 37 seconds is actually not too bad, but when you get up to a 32 gigabyte file, it's definitely going to be slower, but not as bad as a hard drive. This is all still going to be better than a hard drive, so just remember that. The fastest drive, not surprisingly, was the NVMe Gen 4 drive. So we've gone from, let's say, worst case scenario, 37 seconds on that SATA drive to 4.58 seconds on the PCIe Gen 4. So a huge difference there. The 16 gig file copy test was 10.38 seconds. So 140 versus 10.38. And then 32 gig file, 428 seconds to 22.5 seconds. Massive, massive difference. But again, you have to bear in mind, you've got to have that right motherboard to support it. The second fastest drive was that 2 terabyte drive. So a 32 gig file took 36 seconds. Stepping down was 19 seconds for the 16 gig. Then 8 gigabytes was actually 3.9 seconds. So slightly faster than the Gen 4. And I believe that's probably because of the cache that's on that drive. You've got here one 4 gig module for your DRAM, so maybe that was a really quick burst, but once you fill that up, it's going to get a bit slower, which is why we see the, I guess, 16 and 32 gig files a little bit slower than the Gen 4 drive. And then in position 3, we've got the 1 terabyte A80 drive, which copied the 32 gig file in 50 seconds, 16 gigabyte file in 16 seconds. That's 1 gigabyte per second, just crazy. And then an 8 gig file in 7.2. And then coming in fourth, because there's no DRAM on these modules, the 32 gig file for the A60 was 97 seconds, 29 seconds for the 16 gig file, and then 15 seconds for the 8 gigabyte file. So it might seem really, really slow when you're thinking about, geez, you know, so much slower than the first Gen 4 drive, or, you know, than the second Gen 3 drive, the 2 terabyte module. But these guys are still going to be way, way, way faster than a hard drive. Which one am I leaning towards as my favorite drive? I'm probably leaning towards the A80 drive, to be honest with you, at the moment, just based on these numbers alone. I know it's not necessarily the fastest drive, but it is a little bit cheaper and better value, I guess, when you're looking at, I guess, price per gigabyte. Now the last test that we did was an unzip of a 32 gig file. So imagine you're downloading something like maybe an ISO file, you need to unpack that. The quickest drive was the Gen 4 drive at 36 seconds, then the 1 terabyte A80 at 56 seconds, the 2 terabyte module at 60 seconds, the A60 drive at 92 seconds, and then coming in last was the SATA drive at 385 seconds. So big difference going from SATA to NVMe, obviously. One thing I did find really interesting though, while doing all these tests and really hammering these drives with all these different transfers, was the temperatures on the actual drives themselves. The Gen 4 drive could actually get up to, this is what was reported by the way in Crystal Disk, up to 81 degrees Celsius, and that's because there is no heat sink on the actual M.2 drive. So just take that into consideration. For the longevity of it, you might want to get one, or might want to buy a third-party heatsink to put on it, or a heat spreader to put on it, just because the heat will naturally hinder performance throughout SSDs, video cards, CPUs, whatever it might be. So 81 degrees is definitely quite hot, but at the end of the day, you're getting some seriously fast transfer times. All of the other drives were either 61 degrees, 69 degrees, 63 degrees, so in that 60 to 70 range, which is fairly normal and what they're rated for. And then the coolest drive was the SATA drive, only getting up to a 33 degree temperature. That being said, the SSD was actually on a different side of the computer, on the back side of the motherboard, and it's encased in this little 2.5-inch form factor, so maybe that also helps in terms of heat dissipation. So just some interesting things to throw out there. But in terms of which drive I would buy, if it was me, not thinking about the motherboard or anything like that, as long as I had a motherboard that supported M.2, I'd be thinking about the P34A80. So that was the drive that I decided would get first place. Second place was the PCIe Gen 4 drive. That one was I think it was the UD70, that was the right model number. Let me just double check that, the US70, sorry. Coming in third was the 2 terabyte drive. The only reason why it was not first or second was just because of the price. Having to fit so much data onto one drive, I think it was $500 for that one. Still amazing performance, but just a bit too expensive. Coming in fourth was the A60. I just didn't really think the A60 was a good option considering there was no DRAM there. So you're gonna sort of, and you look at those write speeds of only a couple hundred megabytes a second, I think you're gonna really naturally find the limits of that drive quite quickly. So it's unless you're just wanting to get a computer to boot up as quick as possible and to read big files quickly, I would be trying to stay away from that and go to something like the A80, which does have a DRAM. And then going in last was the SATA-based drive, which is hard to compare against NVMe, just because it's two different types of technology sort of against each other, but it is still a really, really solid drive and extremely good value for money if you're just wanting to upgrade your laptop or your desktop. So now for the most exciting news is that this P34A80 1 terabyte, not this exact one, but this SSD is going to be given away to one of you guys who comment down in the comment section, how many grams does this SSD weigh? This, I guess, promotion has been done in conjunction with Silicon Power. These guys have offered to give this away to one of you guys. This is a worldwide competition, and this is going to run for 2 weeks from the time of this video going live. You can only comment once. You just have to comment how many grams this drive weighs, and then in about 2 weeks from now, we're going to draw the winner, contact you guys, and you will be sent a P34A80 1 terabyte drive. So very, very exciting. Big thank you to Silicon Power for sending over this drive for me to test along with all of the other ones, but also for offering to do this giveaway for me to sort of give back to you guys as well. So very, very cool. And it's hilarious to me that this drive actually ended up being the drive that I thought was the best one. That's not me being biased because of the giveaway. It sort of just all happened on its own. Organically, I didn't expect it to be first. It just literally is the best value drive, best performing drive for the price and everything else. So thank you, and good luck to you guys. Make sure you comment down in the comment section how many grams this SSD weighs. So good luck to you guys, and it is very, very cool that we're able to give away $170 worth of SSD to you guys. No catches, just comment down below how much it weighs, and you can save that money and spend that money maybe on a new game, maybe a new Far Cry, maybe a new component in your computer, anything else, $170 of value for free. So guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found the information helpful and informative. If you have any comments or questions about any of the results, the drives, the memory types, any of that kind of stuff, let me know in the comment section. Do you guys like the new setup, by the way? This is a new setup that we've been trialing. Adds a bit of a different vibe for videos we're going to be making in the future. Chuck it a like if you enjoyed the videos. Get subscribed if you love them and you want to see more. And I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers. So now that you're ready to watch another video and you're shopping around for hard drives and SSDs, maybe one to check out is some portable drives from Silicon Power. They make portable SSDs and portable hard drives. I've reviewed them both. I'll leave little cards up in the corner and you can head over and check that one out now. I think it's going to be here, 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 here.